Many Gen Zers have fond childhood memories of their time spent playing online games like Club Penguin or Animal Jam. There was no better escape from everyday life than logging on and living a second life as whoever you wanted to be. Unless you were British, because instead we got to be Weevils in a bin and live in a world full of dirt and snot and sewage and look like this. And on today's episode of I Have a Weirdly Specific Pair of Earrings to Match Every Single Topic I Ever Cover, we have roaches. Despite my fond memories of it, Weevils is probably one of the worst virtual worlds out there, and yet its lore runs deep. Today we're going to take a look into the complete history of Weevils, from its controversies to its slightly cursed merch releases. And in the wise words of my American friend, what's Weevils, what in the beans on toast? Weevils was a joint effort by Nickelodeon UK, CEG or Creative Entertainment Group and Prism Entertainment, and was initially released in 2003 as a flash game embedded into the Nickelodeon website. This game ran from 2003 to 2007 and amassed many players in that time. It laid down many of the foundations for the game it would become in the future, including its minigames, locations and characters. Following the success of this game, Nickelodeon began to air Weevils animated shorts between shows in 2006 in order to introduce the characters and promote the upcoming refurbished world of Weevils, which would release a year later in 2007. The Weevils website was relaunched independently from the Nickelodeon website and became the 3D game we know and love today. The 2007 to 2010 era of Weevils is commonly referred to as the Old Bin, and features were added throughout this time period that are present even today. Weevils began to face competition around this time as more and more online worlds emerged, and some of the most notable changes were those incorporating features of other more popular games. For example, virtual pets known as Bin Pets were released in 2008, following the popularity of Club Penguin's Puffles. I think they missed the mark slightly in this aspect because Puffles drove a lot of Club Penguin's popularity because of how cute they were and how easy they were to use in promotional material. However, Bin Pets, those things were ugly, I'm sorry. Weevils also incorporated a paid membership known as Bin Tycoon in 2009 to increase the site's earnings, as previously it was only funded through promotional campaigns. However, they still had very few paywalls for exclusive content at the time, which gave them an advantage against their competitors as they were more accessible for the kids who didn't have their parents' wallets to rinse. In 2010, Weevils underwent another relaunch, most notably featuring a larger map, interface changes and brighter colours, this time in competition with Moshi Monsters, another British online game rising to popularity. Some features were removed in this relaunch, however many more were added to make up for it. Loads more Bin Tycoon features were launched, including making previously free-to-play features members only, but despite this the platform saw a huge gain in popularity following these updates, and ended up becoming the second most visited site in the UK at one point. After this, Weevils began to go full on with merchandising and made all sorts of toys, games, and even released an album, but I'll get into that later. Weevils won multiple BAFTA awards, and the fame and money seemed to be getting to their heads. As with more and more updates being released, more features became locked behind a paywall.
We love Weevils!
Previously, Bin Pets were accessible for all. However, in 2013, Bin Pets were made to be a members-only feature, meaning non-members would have their pets taken away by the Bin RSPCA, I don't know, and they would only be returned if they bought or renewed a membership, which is a bit weird, I won't lie. As Weevils' popularity died down, so did the frequency of its updates, and Weevils stayed relatively the same for many years up until its closure. To accommodate the quantity of its player base, Weevils had to run on up to 14 different servers at its peak, which were called Dirt, Slime, Grime, Slop, Gloop, Snot, Grub, Belch, Bog, Mulch, Splat, Ooze, Glop, and Muck. I don't know about you, but personally I was a snot girly. However, from around 2015 to its closure, the only servers available were Dirt and Slime due to a lack of players. When you first enter Weevils, you're able to choose a username and a password. My username is Tesco Supermarket, by the way, you should add me. Before customizing your Weevil down to the shape of its antennae, body, head shape, eye shape, and the colour of each of those parts. and it always played this painfully loud sound effect every time you changed something. You could then enter your nest and decorate it. Having a home to decorate is a staple of kids' online games, whether it's an igloo, a treehouse, or a weevil nest with its own built-in slide. You could unlock new rooms in your nest as you progressed and increased your nest coolness, which I'm sure they probably could have thought of a better name for. If you had to give my room in real life a nest coolness ranking, it'd be in the negative numbers. Your nest comes with an underground cinema where all you can watch is Bin Weevils animated shorts, and nothing else. You also have a bin card you can stamp every day to get login rewards. Your nest also came with a garden, and you could buy plants to harvest for XP and mulch. Mulch is the currency of Bin Weevils, by the way. You could also buy decorations for your garden, and the best gardens had a chance of being featured in the Bin Weevils magazine. Then you could go out and explore the binscape. Flum's Fountain is where everyone goes to loiter and insult each other. The Jamar Township of Bin Weevils, if you will. Tink's Tree was an area with a giant tree you could climb where you can work together with other players to collect seeds for your garden. I remember getting into many arguments over this. Dosh's Palace is a stunning location with fountains made out of the decapitated heads of fish stuck on straws. Inside the palace you can use the Bin Weevil changer to edit your avatar, and there's also a cash machine to collect your earnings because, oh yeah, if you're a Bin Tycoon member you can run your own business. You can write magazines, make racetracks, run a photo studio, or run a nightclub. To start a business you have to buy a basement for your nest, aka a plaza. The more people you can attract to your basement, the more mulch you earn. It's just like real life, let's make the rich richer. Castle Gam is where you can do missions with the secret Weevil service, but only if you're a member, of course. You can also meet Colin the Dragon, who can make it rain mulch from the sky. Love you, Colin. Castle Gam previously had a video game cinema where you could watch trailers and chat on a forum about your favourite video games. Something tells me this wouldn't go down well nowadays. Flem Manor has a puzzle room where you can do crosswords and word searches, as well as being the place to publish your magazines for your business. Flem Manor also has a library where you can look at promotional material and read virtual books, but obviously nobody does that. And this is usually the area the role players hang around in. Every game has them. And there's also an art gallery which showcases work from different players. Leonardo da Vinci, nah, my favourite artist is Butlin's fan. Also, when you walk into the manor, this guy sneezes all over you. Bit rude if you ask me. Nest Street is where you start off when you first make an account. It's a simple social area with a few games to play, with a welcome banner in front of your nest. Previously it was only accessible at the start of the game, but it was eventually added to the map and you can also reach it when exiting your nest. The shopping mall is, well, self-explanatory, it's where you go to shop. You can buy furniture at Nestco, which I guess is meant to be Tesco. You can also adopt a bin pet and get them toys and supplies from the bin pet shop, which was previously known as the Bin Pet Paradise. Riggs Property Shop allows you to unlock new rooms in your nest, as well as allowing you to buy a plaza. The garden shop lets you buy seeds and furniture for your garden, and Garden Plots allows you to extend your garden. There's also a secret door next to the bin pet shop where radio shows are filmed. However, in Bin Weevils Rewritten, this door takes you to the pre-2012 version of the shopping mall, which contains completely different shops like floors and walls, gadgets and gizmos, the furniture shop, and the kitchens and bathrooms shop. Lab's Lab is the Moshi Monsters puzzle palace from Wish.com. You can do a daily brain strain where you have a certain amount of time to answer as many general knowledge questions as you can to earn mulch and XP. For some reason they have this weird obsession with France, and half of the questions you get every day are about France. You can also pick different topics to answer questions on as many times a day as you want, but you don't get any mulch for it, which is a bit of a rip-off. Lab's Lab is also home to the bin bot maker, where you can mix potions together to make your own bin bot, or you can get a randomised one from the claw machine for 18 dosh. Bin bots are microscopic collectible robots who definitely don't exist to piggyback off of the success of Moshlings. You could trade bin bots with other players, and they also had their own series of blind bag toys. In Lab's Lab there's also a mystery code machine where you can put in promo codes. Riggs Movie Multiplex is a cinema with 4 screens where you can watch different shows based on what collaborations Bin Weevils was doing at the time. At one point you could watch full episodes of My Little Pony, or at some points they just show adverts. Currently on Bin Weevils Rewritten, the cinema shows all kinds of different things. On screen 1, Bin Weevils. On screen 2, Bin Weevils. Screen 3, Bin Weevils. And screen 4, you guessed it, it's Bin Weevils. There's also a cinema shop where you can buy items to decorate your home cinema that also only shows Bin Weevils. And there's also Weevil Post where you can read magazines and also play the Mulchtastic Lottery. Fig's Cafe serves food because you do have to feed your Weevil. I don't know what happens if you starve them, and I'm not waiting around to find out. The menu of Fig's Cafe contains slime sandwiches, crushed beetle meringues, dirt donuts, and mold mousse, to name a few. Rum's Airport lets you fly to Mulch Island, where you can play a few mini-games, including catching some guy's snot when he sneezes. Attached to this is Tum's Diner. Tum's Diner serves food such as bin burgers, double bin burgers, and I don't really want to know what Tum's jelly is. Slam's Party Box is closed most of the time, but it opens occasionally for special events like Christmas, as well as having themed parties like the Pirate Party and the Beach Party. Club Fling is a very sad little club that never has anyone in it. You can do some fun things like change the pattern on the dance floor and turn on special effects like fire. Also, there's this big screen that called me DJ Tesco Supermarket. I was very flattered. There's also a members only VIP room where you can make smoothies and popcorn, play games, and even go up on the stage and play music for my favourite band, the Weevils. I'm their only member. There's also a pool hall. Then there's Gong's Pipe Nest, which is home to the Haggle Hut, which is literally a 1-to-1 copy of Dodgy Deals from Moshi Monsters. You can sell your unwanted items and pick one of 3 cups to get a price for them. You can also enter competitions for the chance to get featured as Best Nest or Garden of the Week, as well as other seasonal and limited time events. You can also take your bin pets to the gym and they can go on the treadmill, lift weights and do aerobics. And then there's Dirt Valley, where you can play the shitty little racing mini game, which no matter what volume your computer is at, it will always play these ear-bleedingly loud revving noises, and you can't mute them because you're busy racing, and you'll lose if you stop to mute it. I have such fond memories of it, you know. Last of all, there's Tycoon Island, the staple members-only area of any online game. There's a Tycoon Plaza with exclusive shops such as Hem's Hats. Hats are a symbol of your social class in this game. Then there's the photo shop, a nightclub shop, a tycoon shop, and also garden plots again for some reason. There's also an area with a slime pool and water slides, where you can play this god-awful smoothie minigame, but I'll go over that later. There's also a Tycoon Cinema, where you can watch exclusive members-only things like Bin Weevils animated shorts. Bin Weevils has a huge variety of mini-games, most of which are multiplayer, which kind of sucks because nobody plays this game. Mulch Dig is a mini-game located on Mulch Island, resembling an archaeological dig where you can dig up mulch and gems once a day. Tinks Blocks is a puzzle game where you can press groups of 2 or more blocks of the same colour to get points within a certain time frame, and you can spin the frame to move the blocks. It was so popular it got its own mobile app adaptation. Rum's Luggage Rummage is located in the airport and you have to sort luggage and not let anything with banned items through. Smuggling illicit substances is canon in the Bin Weevils world. If Smoothie Shack has no haters, I'm dead. It's very similar to the ice cream parlour game from Moshi Monsters, and they are similar in the sense that nobody can wait more than a few seconds for you to make a goddamn smoothie. I don't know if this is just a me problem, but in this game, instead of handing the Weevils your smoothie, you have to slide them across the counter and just pray they reach the right Weevil, and it never does. Mine always goes too far, and if they don't go all the way to the end, they just end up with the wrong person. It's so hard, for what? Mulch Shoot is located at Castle Gam as well as Dosh's Palace. You have to shoot pieces of mulch flying across your screen, and this is the first single-player minigame in Bin Weevils, being released in 2007. Whack-a-Weevil is whack-a-mole, just less ethical. I'm pretty sure whacking your own species is assault. Then there's 2-ball, 6-ball, and 12-ball. It's the same as pool, just with different amounts of balls every time. Connect Mulch is Connect 4, self-explanatory. Squares, which they couldn't think of a mulch-related name for, is a 2-player game where you draw lines to make more squares than your opponent. Bin Weevils has some very deep lore that isn't very expanded upon. Like, quite often the characters will casually bring up the Great Bin War, weirdly dark for a kid's game. The Secret Weevils Service, or SWS, was founded by Gam, who fought in the Great Bin War.
This is the most fun I've had since the last Great Bin War!
The SWS exists to save the Binscape from the antagonistic Weevil Extermination Bureau, and to that I say, have you considered not living in a bin full of them? The SWS is definitely inspired, to put it kindly, by the Super Moshis. The SWS has different quests for you to play through if you have a paid membership. My personal favourite is the one where Posh's bin pet, called Lady Wawa, gets kidnapped because that's like nearly the exact plot and character name of the Lady Goo quest from Moshi Monsters. Like many online games, Bin Weevils has a cast of interesting characters. The most iconic characters were Tink and Clot, who featured in all of the Bin Weevils animated shorts, as well as a good amount of promotional material. Tink is a grey weevil with blue eyes, and he's a goofy guy, a silly prankster if you will. His quote-unquote funniest moment was when Clot fell out of a helicopter. Clot is Tink's best friend, and he's a red weevil with pink eyes and a top hat. His singular personality trait is clumsy, that's it. Dosh is the token rich weevil who represents the Bin Tycoon paid membership. He invented the premium currency of this game, which he has very humbly named after himself, and he owns 500 top hats. But he's a #ethical billionaire. He's been known to throw mulch from the balcony of his palace to the peasants below, not because he's being nice, but because he's so rich he doesn't have room to store it all. Weevil X is your typical villain character who works for the Weevil Extermination Bureau, or WEB for short, and commits kidnappings. Another incentive to get a paid subscription is to stop his plans. If you don't give us £5 a month, you're literally letting criminals walk free, shame on you. There are plenty of other characters, but there's just too many to talk about, and most of them aren't particularly notable. Most of the characters have an unnecessarily fleshed out family, in which all of their relatives have rhyming names. For example, the Tum family has Tum, Slum, Sum, Fum, Glum, and Rum. All I'm saying is they only have so many more name options before things start going downhill. So anyway, here's my new Bin Weevils I see. Bin Weevils is infamous for its weird amount of collaborations. Everywhere you walk, there'd be adverts shoved in your face for different toys and shows. Most notably, there were Nerf, Transformers, and My Little Pony. I don't know if the dev team just never removed the promotional material, but whilst this game was long dead, these franchises were still advertising within Bin Weevils. If anyone was actually playing this game at the time, it was probably just adults reminiscing on their childhood. It kind of ruins my Bin Weevils immersion when Twilight Sparkle is standing and watching me eat and she's 3 times my height. Some of the most recent collaborations include the Snow Queen, the Penguins of Madagascar, Get Santa, and I'm sorry but having a random realistic PNG of a reindeer randomly hanging around in Bin Weevils is kind of jarring. There were also collaborations with Airfix, Nerf Rebel. I think Nerf Rebel is so funny because now wielding violent weapons is for girls too. There was a Skylanders Trap Team collab that also had awkward out of place realistic PNGs. I love Skylanders so bad. There was My Little Pony, and this one kind of shocked me, Furby Boom. I just did a video on how much I hate those things. Planes 2, I forgot that existed. The House of Magic, which I used to be obsessed with, Postman Pat the movie, whatever Harvey drew and the Bin Men from Out of Spaces, Froobs, the Lego movie, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. This one's absolutely horrifying. How your body works with a giant human skeleton with no nose. I would cry if I was a kid and I saw that. Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, Q-Pets, which I'm planning on doing a video on. That's just a whole dinosaur. Oh my god, it's the girl in the bottom of my school shoes. Those were the exact ones I had. Yeah, sorry, looking through all that just jogged some memories, but like, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels so wrong when they put on these random PNGs around the map in completely different art styles. But get that bank, Bin Weevils, even if it was really annoying having to watch a loud-ass Nerf advert every 5 seconds. Since Bin Weevils was initially a part of the Nickelodeon website, you could watch plenty of different Nickelodeon shows in-game. And I know I joked about how the cinemas only show episodes of Bin Weevils, but the cinema feature was actually a huge incentive to play back in the day. And I think only being able to watch Bin Weevils is just a rewritten thing, I'm not too sure. In 2012, a mobile spin-off of the popular Bin Weevils minigame Tinks Blocks was released in app stores. By playing it, you could win codes to use on the online game for currency, XP, and bin bots. Weevil World is a 2014 mobile game spin-off of the Bin Weevils franchise, but Weevil World is actually 2 different games. It was initially advertised as one of your typical Facebook kind of farming simulator games. However, in 2016, this game was renamed to Cratercraft and later renamed again to be Farmcraft, losing any of the association it once had with Bin Weevils. However, the game that is most commonly known to be Weevil World is a completely different 2D side-scroller game where you could play minigames and interact with other players. Weevil World didn't have a very good reception and it was shut down in 2021. However, Farmcraft is still available on the App Store to this day and still has plenty of elements of the original Bin Weevils games, such as the houses and Binbot characters. Bin Weevils also launched a PC game spin-off in 2014 known as Arty Arcade, which is a KidPix-esque art software, and it's still available on Steam to this day for the low price of $4.99. I accidentally forgot to turn the volume down on my laptop once and it started blaring the Arty Arcade trailer at an ungodly hour in the morning. And lastly there was Bin Weevils Connect, which wasn't really a proper spin-off game, it just linked to the online game, which allows you to do things like customizing your character on the go. Because you know, quite often I'd be out on a date and I'll need to whip out my phone because I get the sudden urge to make my bin weevil a different colour. You could also play minigames and answer messages from your bin buddies, as you do. Needless to say, this app got taken off the App Store after 6 months. Like all mediocre children's franchises, a series of Bin Weevils magazines was released, which had 31 issues and ran up until 2015. One thing these magazines offered was codes, and I remember this very vividly because one time my dad spilled water over my Bin Weevils magazine before I put the code in, and we had to buy a second copy. Some other features of the Bin Weevils magazines were behind the scenes news like upcoming updates. Players could have their nests and gardens featured, there was a fan art gallery, there were tips and tricks, and games and comics. So your pretty standard kids magazine. It boasted the typical cheaply made exclusive gifts like a Weevily dog tag. Alongside this, Bin Weevils released plenty of merch. They had Binbot blind bags, definitely not trying to be moshlings. Basically anything Moshi Monsters did, Bin Weevils did, but worse. They had trading cards, top trumps, playsets, plushies, jigsaw puzzles. You see the resemblance, right? Bin Banter, which is a great name by the way, is a series on the official Bin Weevils YouTube channel of like Bin Weevils roleplay with mediocre voice acting. It's kind of framed like it's supposed to be this comedy thing, hence the titles like LOLs with Lab, but I did not even crack a single smile. I think it just needs to speak for itself really. I can't do the masterpiece that is Bin Banter justice with just words.
Never fear, Cam is here! Whoops!
I spy with my little eye something beginning with H. Help!
It was full of Christmassy treats and was covered in snow.
That's the Winter Wonderland.
You'll be Winter Wonder banned if you interrupt my story again. Anyway.
Great prank, Tom below. Top banter. Maybe you deserve the title of Manta Claus after all.
Merry Christmas.
Also, Bin Weevils has 3.37k subscribers. Just saying, I could die happy if I had more subscribers than Bin Weevils themselves. Wink wonk. Bin Weevils also released a music album called Bin Tunes. You will never be music rocks. But honestly, they kinda go hard. The Big Bin Weevil Ball is a banger, if I'm honest. Binweevil balls. In 2015, alongside Moshi Monsters, Binweevils was reported upon by the Advertising Standards Authority as supposedly pressuring kids to make in-app purchases, which I'm not gonna deny. Whilst Moshi Monsters came under fire for advertising their membership by saying it will make you, quote, super popular, the ASA said Binweevils' prompts to buy a membership were phrased as commands rather than a choice. They reference phrases like join now or become a member, which I feel like is a bit of a reach, because what are they supposed to write? Become a member if you want to, it's completely up to you. It doesn't really have the same ring to it, you know? But I do definitely agree that relying on children who steal their parents' credit cards as a source of income isn't exactly the most ethical of business models. Binweevils also came under fire for the character Weevil X, who is said to resemble harmful Islamophobic stereotypes. Many people believe that Weevil X's plan of destroying Castle Gam and kidnapping bin pets resembled motives of certain terrorist groups. His design was also criticised. Many people said his headwear, which was canonically described as a disguise, could resemble a variety of different Middle Eastern cultural clothing. And I read one article that said, I'm not entirely sure if it's just me, but don't some of the facial expressions that Weevil X sometimes makes look similar to the expressions made by Osama bin Laden? In 2014, a hacker leaked the account information of over 1 million Binweevils accounts, including their usernames, passwords, email addresses, and IP addresses. This seems weirdly common for virtual worlds because it happened on Animal Jam 2, and I'm still mad about it because the hackers took all my items from my account. This incident caused Binweevils to shut down for a week, and in that week they installed the most advanced security measure, captures. Clearly this worked well because there was a second data breach in 2017, which also involved someone hacking the Binweevils news page and making a fake post saying that the site would be shut down. It's a given that with any kids online world comes helicopter parents who insist the strict chat filters just aren't strict enough. So I scoured some mummy blogs and found one article showing how people get around the chat filters to say very naughty words like gay. By the way, this article is called Binweevils, the Internet Death Trap for Kids. That is rather dramatic. I think the funny part of this article is the fact that it shows pictures of every single way people manage to swear, like capitalizing different letters in a longer word to get around the filter, which is a brilliant idea. Thank you for showing everyone exactly how to do it. And if you do think the chat filters aren't harsh enough, they are. I remember being absolutely distraught as a child because I got a warning for typing fart. The same article brings up Binweevils patronising customer service emails, showing one that said it's not possible for a Binweevils account to be hacked, and that either someone guessed your password or you've given your password out. Yeah, that's exactly what account hacking is, what are you on about? There were also incidents where people modified the text on the racing minigame leaderboards to say racial slurs, with the article once again telling you exactly how to do this. Binweevils shut down on January 16th, 2021, due to Adobe Flash no longer working. Funnily enough, Flash officially sunset on December 31st, so I'm not entirely sure how it stayed running longer. Currently, when you type in the binweevils.com URL, it redirects you to sustainablemorristown.org, which is a Singaporean gambling website. I know in its time it's redirected to plenty of different scam websites, so it's a fun surprise what you're gonna find. I'm honestly quite shocked that Binweevils managed to stay afloat that whole time, because in the last few years of its run, the game was just completely dead. I'd play it and nobody was ever on there, and if they were, it was probably to take the piss or just reminisce on their childhood. Nearing the end, Binweevils had very few people working on it. Some sources said 10 people and some said 4 people, so I don't exactly know how many there were, but either way, there were hardly any updates to the game for years. But there was a silver lining, and that was Binweevils Rewritten. Rewritten projects are fairly common for shutdown games, where teams reassemble the website so you can play again. And the rewritten versions are often even better, because at least in the case of Binweevils and Moshi Monsters, you get given free membership. Binweevils Rewritten has some other really cool features, like being able to swap between different time periods of the game so you could access old locations. And it wasn't like Club Penguin rewritten, which landed multiple people in jail because Disney are assholes. Because Bin Weevils as a website was constantly changing and updating, I'm sure I've missed a lot of things. And I'm fairly certain I've not been sticking to a consistent time period to look at things from, but I've tried my best. This was a very hard video to write and research. I had a lot of sleepless nights. I've been falling asleep every night with bin tunes stuck in my head. I think I'm going delirious. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a lovely rest of your day, and goodbye!